I'll just give a brief introduction about you. So, John Szczygiel is the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President at Brivo. Brivo is a cloud-based security provider based in the US. Correct me if I'm wrong.
In the US, and we also have our European headquarters in Amsterdam.
Great. And this year you'll be attending the IFSEC 2019 at Excel London in June.
That's correct.
My first question to you is, what are your unique selling points as a brand?
So Brivo's tagline is simply better security. And so those are three really easy to understand words, but I think part of the unique perspective that we bring to the market is how we apply those three words really to everything we do. So first and simple, we want to make sure that our product is simple to acquire, simple to use, simple to maintain, simple for the customer to understand, but yet be extremely full-featured. Also, for our partners who do installations, it needs to be simple to install, simple for them to handle remotely, and also simple to secure, which I'll get to the security part. So the way we build our products, we strive to couple the best technology that we can create with the best services that we can deliver and make sure it follows that simply better security. Then in terms of better, there's lots of ways we think our product is better for the customers. We think it's a better value. We think it operates in a better way. When we think about everything from our documentation to the box that we put the products in, we always ask ourselves, is this better? Is there a better way to do this? So we're constantly challenging ourselves to say, is it better? And then the third piece, which always seems obvious, is security, right? We're in the security business. What we're providing is a security solution. But one of the problems with some security solutions is they themselves are not actually secure. So many of the security systems on the market, you've seen some of the things in the media about IoT devices and people spying on their neighbors through their baby cams and all those kind of things. Well, that's true in the physical security business as well. Unfortunately, a lot of the products that are on the market were never really designed to be on the type of networks that they're on today, whether it's a wide area network or even the internet. Their designers didn't contemplate that use when the products were built. And so they weren't built inherently to be secure in themselves. And so that's the third piece that we use to measure ourselves is not only are we delivering security for our customers, but are the underlying products themselves also secure against hacking, secure against bot intrusion, secure against somebody misusing the product in some way that would harm the customer. So for us, the unique selling proposition we think is that the approach that we take in delivering simply better security.
Okay, nice. And how does your business model work in terms of installations and providing ongoing services?
Great, good question. So our products are delivered really as a complete system by our partners. So we have partners around the world who are security installers, security integrators, depending on where in the market, they call them different things. But they're the ones who put together the complete solution for the end customer. They understand clearly the end customer's needs and desires. And what we have, though, is a shared responsibility model. So our partners install the equipment at the customer's premise, they train the customer on using it, and they set it up. But we kind of take it from there, meaning that we have all of our services hosted. Brivo was really the first company, so we're a pioneer on a lot of things. We're the first company to be the crazy guys who decided to put security systems in the cloud. We did this in 2002. So before it was even called cloud and before decades before people in our industry were thinking about using the cloud, Brivo was already doing it. And so the shared responsibility model, we have now developed over 20 years. We're now 20 years in this business doing this. And the shared responsibility model means that we are responsible for protecting the customer data, for hosting the overall platform, for ensuring the platform has high availability, that it's secure, that it's updated, and that it's continuously evolving according to customer needs. So our partners are able to install technology at a premise. They're able to have a long-term arrangement with the customer to provide those services over a period of time, typically on a subscription basis, and they can count on Brivo to deliver not only just the quality operational services, but continuous innovation that the customers expect, and yet the customers don't need to do anything. They can sit there at their computer and there's a new version of software and they didn't install anything, they didn't have to upgrade anything, they didn't have to go get a special computer or a dongle or a disk or do anything because it's all in the cloud. So the business model is beneficial for the customer in the sense that Brivo has to earn their business every day. So the customer, if they don't like our stuff, it's just like, I'm sure you've deleted apps and programs and things constantly. If people don't like us, they haven't paid for some big software package or big security system that they can't get out of. They can delete us and move on. So that model makes us very focused on customer satisfaction and delivering what our customers need. And there's also a side benefit for our partners, our installation partners, in that they have a recurring revenue stream. So it's not just a one-time opportunity to sell a project and then move on, but that they have a long-term relationship with the customer that's subscription-based. And so they benefit from upfront. They can sell the customer some Brivo hardware and all of the other pieces that go with it, but then they also have a back-end relationship and revenue stream on those products.
Okay, interesting. So what are the barriers to cloud adoption and what are the prospects for overcoming them?
Yeah, so in terms of Europe, I mean, in the United States and North America, we're extremely well known. We're growing at a very rapid rate. We have 15 million credentialed users in our platform today. So we're extremely well established. And of course, from our perspective, cloud is the only way to do things. A whole generation of folks have grown up with mobile devices in their hand, and most of them have never touched a floppy disk or a CD-ROM or any of those kinds of things. They only know remote mobile services. So we don't think there's a problem with adoption per se. We think there's a little bit of a perception issue, primarily with some people in the physical security industry who don't understand or haven't embraced the model entirely and are more comfortable selling on-premise solutions. But what's really driving it is the customer. Because when you go to a customer and say, I'd like to sell you the security system, and oh, by the way, I am going to hand you a computer with some software on it that you need to find a spot for it in your building, and you need to have somebody come in now and again and back it up and make sure it's working, and you need to have a rack for it and a nice cool space, and it's going to need to be upgraded every so many months. The customer says, I don't want that. You know, I don't do that with my Salesforce automation system. I don't do that with my email system. I don't do that with my HR system, my finance system. Why do I want to do that with my access control system? So I think there really is only a mind shift in a shrinking part of the market to be able to adopt it, but the customers are driving it. I think specifically about Europe, the only hindrance, I guess, to adoption of Brivo is we're just not super well known yet. We're known as a North American company. We haven't been operating in Europe like we started last year. We haven't really been doing that. We've been very opportunistic and fortunate to be brought to over 40 countries by our customers. So we've expanded to 40 countries, mostly by our North American-based customers expanding their businesses and saying, I want to put Brivo in Singapore, or I want to put Brivo in India. That's how we got to 42 countries. But now we've made a real effort to say, let's make sure we understand the European market. Let's make sure we understand what's unique about it and what's unique about the way that they approach security in their facilities. And let's learn a lot, and let's make sure that we can be perceived as a same high quality, high value solution as we are in North America.
Okay, interesting. So at the IFSEC 2019, will you be revealing any new products?
Yeah, we always have a lot of neat things. And so the first thing really is that we do a release, we do multiple releases of our cloud software in a month. So last year, I think we did 60 overall releases. Many of them are transparent to customers and they add new features. So every day, almost people are waking up to new features in Brivo. We also build build some nifty hardware, some nifty devices. And so one of the things that we'll be showing at IFSEC is a combined single door controller. So the concept is it's a card reader as well as the back-end brain. So normally today, these are split into two pieces. You have the back-end brains, and then you have the reader. We've built one that's combined, and so that all of the technology that's required is in one device, so much simpler to install. It can be connected to the network and powered over the network, so you don't need other power supplies and other things. It can actually control locks and other devices at the door, so we'll be showing that at IFSEC. We also will be showing our approach to mobile credentials. So we've been building mobile credentials now for 5 or 6 years, and we've made progressive steps in mobile credentials. We believe that although the plastic cards that have been around a long time are still serviceable, this thing here is a much better identity device than a plastic card. And so people are absolutely interested in moving to this. Again, in the context of a newer generation who have their payment on their phone and their ID on their phone and their life on their phone. There's a lot of people who don't really get the idea of carrying around a piece of plastic. And so we'll be showing at the IFSEC our mobile credential, which now we've added biometrics to it. So our customers are able to designate a particular door as requiring a secondary factor of authentication. So you came up to the door and you wanted to tap to open, you could do that. But if the administrator of the system establishes that that door requires you to revalidate with a biometric on the phone, you would then be challenged for the biometric. So it's like putting a biometric reader at a door, but one that you can put at a door, take away. You can use it wherever you want, however you want. So we'll be showing that as well. And also we'll be showing our identity management solution. So we have a relatively new integration with a company called Okta, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but Okta is an IDMS provider, mostly for cloud services, identity provider for cloud services. So their role is, if you're an organization that has 4 or 5 different applications, usually cloud-based, of course, that your employees use, you want to be able to onboard and offboard employees through one service. So you don't want to log into Brivo and say, I need to add Phil to Brivo, I need to add Phil to Salesforce, I need to add Phil to NetSuite, I need to add Phil to Box.com or Dropbox. You want to go to one authoritative source and add Phil and say, Phil has access to XYZQP, all of these applications. Then when Phil leaves the company, you want to go in and say, take Phil out. You don't want to have to go, again, logging into all those applications and removing those privileges. So that's one thing that we've done recently with Okta as well as with Microsoft Azure Active Directory. So we'll be talking about those will be our primary things for IFSEC.
Nice. And what kind of people are you hoping or expecting to take an interest in Brivo at IFSEC in terms of nationality, sectors, installers versus consultants and end users, etc.?
Yeah, so I mean, IFSEC, I've been to IFSEC now a number of years, and I'm always impressed by the cross-section of sophisticated attendees. So all of the ones that you mentioned, I'm sure we'll have conversations with. We've had really good connections with people who are installers, with people who are consultants, also end users. There's a lot of curiosity sometimes. People say, I've heard about this cloud thing. I'm not really sure how it would work for me. I have questions about GDPR. I have questions about encryption. I have questions about data integrity. So it'll be that mixture. And then the other thing that we really enjoy doing at these shows is catching up with our existing customers and also our existing partners. So we will plan to have a full set of meetings with existing folks who love to come by and catch up on Brivo and see the new things firsthand, and sometimes give us feedback on things that they haven't enjoyed so much and they would like to see us do better, and we're happy to take that feedback. So it's a little bit of new folks and it's a little bit of people who are very familiar with Brivo that we hope to reconnect with at IFSEC.
Thanks, look forward to it. And anything else you want to discuss about Brivo, market trends or IFSEC?
Well, I think one interesting market trend, which is happening all around the world, and I know it's happening in the US and in Europe, which I think is an interesting theme to explore with primarily the installation community, is the problem with lack of technical talent. So in North America for sure, and I've also seen this to some extent in Europe, there are fewer and fewer people who are tradesmen, who have skills with their hands, who can do things like electronics and locks. And the typical security installer has to be pretty much a magician. They need to be able to install hardware in a door, so they're almost a carpenter. They need to be able to work with electricity, so they're a bit of an electrician. They need to be able to work with electronics, so they're an electronic technician. And they also need to be able to work with programming and computers and cloud services, so they're a little bit of an IT technician. So a security installer is actually a very broadly skilled individual, generally speaking, which is great. The problem is, because of all those skills, they're also very attractive to other industries. So they can make a lot more money being an IT person than you can hanging a security camera on a pole 30 feet up. And so a lot of folks have said, you know, I'm just going to go into IT. There's tons of jobs there, and I can make more money. So there's a challenge, I think, that the industry faces, which is, how do you get these things installed when you don't have the people to do it, or you have fewer people to do it? And I think there, as an example, Brivo thinks a lot about that. We think about how can we make that installation simpler for a person, so that perhaps a lower skilled, less educated individual on all those aspects can still successfully deploy a Brivo system. How could we leverage centralized resources? So for example, with our system, a programmer, an IT level programmer isn't really required, but when you want to set the system up, it can be done remotely. So let's say you had one person in your organization who was on the more sophisticated side, more IT savvy. You might deploy them to say, you're the programmer person. You set all these things up and you do it remotely, and you sit in the office just like an IT person would, and you just take care of everything over the internet. And then a person who goes on site, who might be a direct employee or even a subcontractor, only has to understand the physical world that they're working in and plug in a few simple connections to make the system operate. So I think that's what manufacturers like Brivo need to respond to. We need to respond to the workforce that's available to our resellers, and not assume that they can just create a workforce that doesn't exist or is shrinking in supply. So that's one of the things that I think is an interesting trend in the industry.